Okay. Susan?
So it all started at our favorite dim sum restaurant in Chinatown in Manhattan, where we live. David had just finished writing a book. He was thinking of what else he'd write next, another science book. The first book was about Enrico Fermi, the Italian physicist. We were walking home from Chinatown to our apartment, which is minuscule, on the Upper West Side. It's 450 square feet, which is maybe 1/3 of it, 1/millionth of this. It's really tiny. And about midway through the walk, I suddenly, for some reason, said, let's write a book together about Costco, which is ridiculous because I'd never written a book. It was 2016. COVID was around the corner. I had no idea. It made travel really difficult. And the biggest problem was Costco had no interest in this. Very, very humble and modest. Before I go further, does anybody here work at Costco? Presently, currently? I know we have someone who has a family member. Okay, great. I'll carry on. There's nothing negative to say about Costco. Just want to know. So at any rate, so I said, let's do a book about Costco. And David said, no way. About a week later, he finally relented. And that was good practice because it took us 5 years to convince Costco we were doing it, whether they liked it or not. So it took us from 2016 to 2018, next, to meet, these are the milestones we've got along the way. It took us until August of 2018 to meet Jim Sinegal, the surviving co-founder, and Craig Jelinek. It took us, gosh, until April of 2021 to convince them that we were really going to do it. In between, we changed literary agents, and then that was November 2019. We met up with Jim Sinegal in Washington, D.C., and we told him we had decided to form our own publishing company, Hot Dog Press. That was because 22 publishers had turned us down, and another 2 had given us offers that were so insulting that we said, screw this, we'll do it ourselves. That was a pretty rash move. Neither one of us knew what we were doing. It turns out it's a lot of work. 2020, we kicked off COVID with traveling all over the place and continued it. It's been 220,000 miles. We lost count at 250 warehouses. We're tired. We're grandparents. We're really tired. In January 2023, we hit a really important milestone, which is that our art director told us that the current text we had was going to be a 600-page book. We were aiming for a 300-page book. So we had to cut it in half.
Well, when Susan says we had to cut it in half, she means she cut it in half. I couldn't bear doing it. She did all the heavy lifting.
David was crying. He was just weeping. He had 30 pages on logistics, it was, whatever. Finally, September 12th, 2023, the book was published. And another big milestone after we printed the books was we found out Costco was going to sell it at the warehouse. We had no presumption they would, but they said they would. But the book is for sale everywhere in the US and Canada, small bookstores, big bookstores everywhere. We are especially grateful to BookSuite tonight for being here. As David said, we really support independent bookstores. We would encourage you to buy a copy tonight. It's self-published. It makes a lovely gift. Next slide.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about Costco's business model. It's really very simple in some ways, but it's deceptive because it's actually very difficult to do this properly. It's highly curated and very high quality. They only sell in a typical warehouse 3,800 items. To give you a sense of what others do, your typical supermarket has 40,000 items. Oops. Okay. Am I okay now? Okay. Sorry about that. It's okay. I talk down like this. So a typical supermarket has 40,000 items. A typical Walmart has 140,000 items. So when you think about Costco's 3,800 items, it's highly curated, and all the heavy lifting is done by the buyers who select high-quality items at extremely low margins. They only charge at most 14% above what it costs them at a typical warehouse. And that means that all those savings are passed along to the members. Their code of ethics is also very, very simple. Obey the law, look after your members, look after your employees, respect your vendors, and if you do all of that properly, your shareholders will benefit. And of course, Costco stock has done very, very well. But you know, their employees are treated better than anybody else in the retail industry, and they have the lowest turnover of anyone in the retail industry, a 7% turnover after the first year. And if you ever talk to an employee who's been there for a few years, I mean, our experience has been that uniformly they rave about being employees of the company.
In fact, if the book doesn't work out, I'm planning to get a job in the bakery, and David's planning to get a job as a greeter. We'll see how that works out. But at any rate, so put your seatbelts on. As we said, we've lost count. At least now at this point, with the promotion, which started in September. We've been to more than 250 warehouses, 220,000 miles in 14 countries. So put your seatbelts on, here we go. This is alphabetical, which is how the book is organized. And our first stop is Alaska. This is the smallest warehouse in the world. It's in Juneau. It sits at the base of a fir tree-covered mountain with all the mist and everything. This warehouse is so small, there is no rotisserie chicken there. They have no bakery. The baked goods are made elsewhere with Costco recipes, and they're brought in. It's adorable. When you walk in, you sort of feel like, who shrunk my Costco? Where did it go? But it still feels like Costco.
But it's also extremely important for the people in Juneau who are isolated. You can't get into Juneau by road. So, they really rely on Costco for everything.
This is an example of how 40% of the items around the world are regional. This is reindeer sausage, I kid you not. And people think that Costco puts small businesses out of business. They don't. This exact product is sold by the vendors in front of City Hall down in Juneau, grilling it up and selling it. They buy it at Costco. That's so typical. Next slide. Honey is very important there. They have no local what's it called? Indigenous pollinators. And mead is very important. They have these mead contests, who makes the best mead. So this is a 60-pound tub. This is Costco-sized of honey for only $107. This stuff moves. Okay, bear spray. We laughed when we saw this. It's a 2-pack of bear spray. We literally laughed, but the next day was Labor Day, and we went bird watching because we're avid bird watchers. And it was misting rain. We're in this gorgeous park. David's holding an umbrella above me. I took this picture. So excited. We turned around to walk back. No cell phone coverage. And there's a big pile of bear poo steaming, like right there. And we looked at each other and said, bear spray? We should have gotten it. Yeah.
We were very lucky.
The bear was gone.
The next stop is Australia. This is the food court in a typical Australian Costco. They have some unusual items at the food court. They have clam chowder at the food court. They also have this wonderful dish that's inspired by Indian cuisine. It's called butter chicken pie, and it is wonderful, just delightful. They sell Vegemite, which is, one of your standard staples of an Australian household. Hold on. For those who don't know what Vegemite is, it's a yeast spread. The English call it Marmite, and the Australians call it Vegemite. It is extremely salty, and I guess you have to have been born there and raised on it to like it, but they love it. These are strawberries. I don't know whether you can see the scale here. That's Susan's hand, I think, in the back there. These things are the size of your fist. These are huge strawberries, and they taste great. They're full of flavor.
And Susan's hand is already pretty big, so imagine, yeah.
And finally, one of the things we talk about in the book is that they sell coffins and caskets. This is the only place we saw where they're actually on display. They are actually on display as you're walking around in the warehouse.
Welcome to Canada. This is the Marché Central warehouse in Montreal, and this is really important because this is the first place Costco ever sold rotisserie chicken. Believe it or not, a couple of the senior people were away on vacation, and 2 guys at this warehouse thought, what a good idea. There's a local supermarket doing this. They jury-rigged a rotisserie. They started selling rotisserie chicken, and the senior folks came back from vacation next week and said, what are you doing? And the answer was, we're selling chickens. We sold 6,000. And they said, carry on. So that's where it started, and we actually saw it.
And in fact, it's now all over the world. Wherever you go around the world, they're selling rotisserie chicken.
I want to point out that $7.99 is Canadian dollars. It's the same low price everywhere around the world. Another myth we like to bust is that Costco's losing money on either the hot dog and soda combination or on the rotisserie chicken. They're not. What they've done over the years is bring those in-house and make it themselves so they can control the quality and keep the price down. They're not losing money. That's not why the chicken's at the back of the warehouse to make you come in and get that great deal. That's a myth. This is poutine. It's considered the national treat of Canada. It might not look great, but it's exquisite. It's French fries, gravy, and cheese curds, and they make this at the food court. All I can say is it's just scrumptious. They have a holiday, and I guess over the summer, called Saint Jean Baptiste Day. It's a French-Canadian holiday, and this is the cake that they sell for that. It's gorgeous. Here's an interior shot. It's really yummy. That's like a custard cream, and the blue stuff is edible.
Now we're on to China. We went to China this summer during the hottest period that China has ever had. It was brutal. This is an exterior shot of Costco in Shanghai. You can see they built up a little bit because the parking is up on top. The Chinese love Costco. They opened in August of 2019 to a tumult. I mean, this particular neighborhood was shut down because there were so many people trying to get into the Costco.
They closed the warehouse at 1 o'clock that day, the first day, August 2019, because they ran out of food. Here's some carts. It's a pretty standard shot of carts. This is some exotic food. On the left, you'll see those are bullfrogs that have been skinned and placed in shrink wrap, fresh. And on the right is snakehead fish. We thought those were snakes at one point, but we were corrected. They're fish. One of the real delicacies in China is green tea, and Longjing tea is the number 1 quality green tea in China. And we went to the tea fields in Hangzhou to see what it was like. Costco sells this box for about a third of what you pay at the tea plantation. It's just astonishing how they can do that. The Chinese love ginger. They love garlic. They put them all together right there on the stacks there. And finally, this is a truffle soy sauce. I had never thought of putting truffles and soy sauce together in one package, but they did that. Did we? I don't think we tasted that, did we? We didn't, no, but we've heard it's good. And as you see there's an asterisk in the top right corner of the price tag there. That indicates that item is about to be discontinued either permanently or temporarily. That's called, colloquially, a Death Star. If you ever see that on a product you like, do what I do. Buy several. Try to send a message to the home office that this item has got legs and it needs to stay.
What's the little sign?
It's a little asterisk.
It's the asterisk at the upper right-hand corner.
Welcome to France. There are 2 warehouses right now outside of Paris. You can get to either one by public transportation, so we did. We had a ball. This is an exterior shot of the warehouse. The first one was built. If you see in the far right corner, there's some foliage. Closer.
Hold on. And
This is called a living wall. This is actually landscaped on the wall. There's no reason for it other than it looks nice. This is very Costco.
Well, one of the things that Costco always does is when they move into a new neighborhood. What?
Another shot? Oops, sorry.
One of the things they do when they move into a new neighborhood is they work with the local councils, local authorities on design. And if the local authorities want something changed, they'll accommodate. And this is an example of that.
So this is actually growing like, a foot or 2 outside the wall. I have no idea how they water this. It's just fantastic. These are croissants that are made with a special type of butter, that red sticker in the right-hand corner. It's kind of like Burgundy wine. It's got to be the particular butter. They're unbelievable. Another baked good was these ham and cheese pastries. We kind of expected that the bakery section in Paris would be a little, quiet, but it wasn't. It was just great. And of course, there was cheese. This is a cheese sampler. It's a tremendous price. And they have very big wine bottles. Some things at Costco are truly large size. This is a Methuselah of a red Bordeaux. And then finally, a 2-pack of foie gras. Who couldn't resist that?
We're off to Hawaii now. Hawaii is an interesting place because it's so remote that Hawaiians have gotten used to paying tons of money for everything that they buy there because it's so expensive to get it there. So Costco thought in the late 80s that they would go out there and beat prices using their incredible logistics system. And now Costco is very popular there. In fact, this warehouse in Honolulu, it's in the Iwilei district of Honolulu, is the busiest Costco in the world. The busiest Costco in the whole world.
And it's regular size.
And it's regular size, but it cranks out transactions day in and day out, and people love it. This is the parking lot in Maui Notice there, because of the sun is so strong there, they've put sun roofs up over the cars. This, of course, was before the fire in Lahaina. The Costco Warehouse in Lahaina, in Maui, was very active in terms of emergency relief activity for the people of Maui. The Hawaiians love Spam. I do not know what the cultural background is for this, but they absolutely adore it. And there's more Spam in these warehouses than I've ever seen in my life. This is a custard pie. They love custard pies there too, and you don't find those in many other places. This is an example of a vendor who started very, very locally. They're Honolulu Cookie Company. They make shortbread cookies, and they're wonderful. Some of them are covered with chocolate. And during the pandemic, they had to close their retail shops because there were no tourists in Hawaii. The tourists were their main business. Costco and the Honolulu Cookie Company got together to sell the remaining inventory. They sold the remaining inventory in a week to Costco members. And as a result, they developed a relationship that is now global. You can buy these in Tokyo, you can buy these in New York, you can buy them everywhere.
And a fun fact to know here is that Honolulu Cookie Company would not deign to sell their product at Costco until this happened. And so someone locally brokered a deal and said, okay, listen, they've got a lot of inventory. They're made with pure butter. It's got a shelf life. And so they brokered a deal, and Costco stepped in and helped them out and didn't stand on some high horse and say, okay, you never wanted to be with us before, but we're here for you now, and now they're available everywhere. It used to be that people would buy them and at either here or at the duty-free shops, but now they buy them at Costco.
It used to be that Hawaii bought all their eggs from Arizona because that was basically the easiest way to get eggs there. They don't have a very robust indigenous egg farm industry. But a year or so ago, Costco supported the development of a new egg farm in Hawaii, and it's become very, very popular. This is poi. Poi is I think, ground taro root that is a native Hawaiian delicacy used in a lot of Hawaiian cooking and used at luau's extensively. A local pineapple. Pineapple is a big deal in Hawaii, and you can buy fresh hand-cut pineapple in Hawaii. And finally, leis. You can buy leis in Hawaii that are cheaper than you can buy in any of the tourist shops there.
And now we're on to Iceland. Iceland is amazing. There are almost 400,000 people who live there. 75% of them have a Costco membership. When it opened, it caused a real stir. So this warehouse is unusual because, as you see, it's got grass on the top of the roof. And that's sort of a nod to the traditional, grass hatched roof. But it's also because right up above this is a really nice building complex, apartment complex, and Costco thought that the people who live there wouldn't necessarily want to look at the top of a warehouse. So they did this. And this is really a nice example of what Costco does to customize the warehouse wherever they go. Right across the street is an IKEA. Right across the street from this is an IKEA. And it is the classic, the only model they have, which is that blue box with the yellow writing. That's one size fits all for IKEA. Not criticizing them, just saying it's quite a stark difference right across the street. I got a kick out of the different languages on these. This is the plastic piece on the top of the cart, inside the front seat of the cart. So I took a collection of these around the world. We'll show you one that's in Korean as well. Radishes are incredibly popular in Costco in Iceland. I have no idea why. I think maybe they have a limited supply of vegetables in wintertime. So this is a 1 kilo bag of radishes. They're particularly sweet, at great price. I just found this fascinating.
Okay, on to Japan. Japan is the first country in Asia where they opened up, and we just thought it was cute that they have the mission in English and in Japanese. And as I said, obey the law, take care of members, take care of employees, respect vendors, and reward our shareholders, all in Japanese. The Japanese food court is fascinating. There's corn chowder, soft serve ice cream, falafel salad, mango smoothies. And their hot dogs, as are all the hot dogs in East Asia and Australia and New Zealand, are pork. In fact, Japan, there's a Japanese warehouse that sells more hot dogs than any other warehouse around the world.
And
Shin Misato.
And speaking of hot dogs, we should mention Costco sells 7 times more hot dogs than all U.S. Major League Baseball stadiums combined.
But of course, they sell Japanese food too, and this is the assembly line for sushi. They make it by hand. They make it in the back there. We were honored to be able to go back and see how they do it, and you can get I think it's a 46-count package of sushi for the equivalent of $24. I mean, you just can't beat that, and it's great sushi. It really is. They also sell corn that they husk. The island of Hokkaido, the northern island of Japan, is where they source a lot of their produce from. And this corn is from Hokkaido, and it comes into the warehouse. They shuck the corn and offer it up to members in bags, as you can see.
And this is unusually high touch for Costco, because really the basic premise is that the first time any employee touches an individual jar of pickles, for example, is when they scan it at the cash registers. This is really unusual to have this woman standing here shucking the corn and handing it out. That's just really noteworthy.
Yes, the Japanese do their shopping on bicycles. I do not know how they put what they've bought on the bicycles, but yes, there's a parking space for bicycles and motorcycles. We were privileged to visit one of the distribution centers in Japan. This is Ichihara, and this is typical of a Costco distribution center. It's empty. The reason it's empty is because they process the stuff so quickly that, by the end of the day, it's just totally empty. They move it in and out overnight, and it's kept spotlessly clean.
Welcome to Mexico. This is a beautiful national park outside Mexico City, and up on the cliffs overlooking it from the vantage point we're looking down is a beautiful Costco warehouse. It was built there in a really special way. Half the cost of the warehouse is the warehouse itself, which is members only, and the other half is the top of the warehouse, which is open to the public. It has a contemplative garden, a skateboard park, a racquetball court, a soccer field, I don't know what all, and it's all open to the public. That was half the cost of the project. Cactus is very popular there. We found it in 2 forms. One was organic cactus leaves called nopal, which you can saute and cook as a regular vegetable, and the other form was in cheese. We loved this so much, we were upset not to find it anywhere else in Mexico. Apparently this is regional in Mexico, just in Mexico City. You can buy a motorcycle in Costco in Mexico. We decided not to. We travel with carry-on luggage. And then in the liquor section around the world, you'll find different items, and this is a special kind of Tanqueray I'd never seen before. We didn't try it, but it looked pretty great.
Now, a quick hop to New Zealand. New Zealand is the most recent development, international development for Costco. And they opened it, I think, in October of this past year, and a year ago. And you can see what Susan was saying, an example of what Susan was saying. It looks different, and the reason it looks different is because the local authorities wanted it to look a little different, and so Costco complied. It looks very similar inside. And the one item we thought would be fun to look at is durian, dried durian, tropical. Now, I don't know whether any of you know what durian is. It is, I frankly have never tried it because I've been told it smells so bad that most Westerners cannot tolerate it. But it's very popular in Asia and popular in New Zealand.
And now South Korea. Now, we don't have any favorites, but if I had to pick one country that's most spectacular, it's South Korea. That's on the record. Okay, South Korea is amazing, and if there's a country that has the most enthusiasm for Costco other than the US, it would be South Korea. So this is a warehouse in Seoul, and you can see in the far left there, the carts are all lined up. The line is forming. This is an hour before it opens on a regular weekday, 100 people.
Oh, and one thing about South Korea, which is unique in the system, most Costco's around the world will open slightly before their official opening time. In South Korea, they would be fined if they did that. They have to open exactly at 10 o'clock.
And in South Korea, they have a rule that any large building needs to have public art in front of it. So this is a wonderful sculpture that was done for Costco. I love that. This is parboiled whole octopus in the fish section. Now, in South Korea, they have more fish items than a lot of other warehouses. And we said there are 3,800 items per warehouse. So in South Korea, you might find fewer other items and more fish. So it does vary regionally as it goes around. This is something interesting in the produce section, chestnuts and ginkgo, in a large quantity, Costco style. And then Spam. So we were there in the fall when Chuseok, which is a fall holiday, took place, and it was a blast because Costco has all these special, what they call gift sets, and this is one of them. So for the person in your life who loves Spam, this is a Spam collector's set. They had other gift sets, live lobsters, live crabs, a shaving kit, beauty products, it's just everything for Chuseok. It was fantastic. And once again, the lines were forming around the block. And also in Korea, we should mention that the buildings tend to be very, very multi-leveled because it's really,
It's dense.
dense. And so it's not unusual to find a 3-floor Costco. And the way you get from floor to floor is these moving ramps where the carts, their wheels lock. And so you go on. This is a wonderful item. It was a new food court item when we were there. It's fresh watermelon juice. Delicious.
I would say another thing about the food court is that you can get plastic plates and real silverware at the food court. You don't have to. You can use paper plates and plastic, but you can also use real plastic plate that gets washed every day and real silverware.
And then this is great. These are kimchi refrigerators. So apparently we were told most Korean families have not one but 2 kimchi refrigerators, so you can make your own kimchi. In the olden days, you had to put kimchi in a clay pot and bury it in the backyard. This replicates it. Everybody's got one, and it's a great price at Costco. And finally, once again, I love these signs. They're in different languages. Sorry, this lane closed. Remember this way, cart that way in Korean.
We're now going to Spain. These are Iberico hams in the deli section. Iberico hams are like the Spanish version of prosciutto, but the pigs have been very carefully treated they've been fed only acorns throughout their lives. So it has this amazing, delicate acorn flavor to it. It's fantastic, very expensive, and Costco beats the local prices on this by 30-40%. The food court in Spain is wonderful. This was our favorite item. It's called jamón croquetas, and it's cheese, fried cheese balls with that Iberico ham inside. Unbelievably good. This was a mystery for us. This is in the deli section. It's called pastel salado. And we stared at it for a long time, tried to get someone to explain to us what it was. We didn't know. So we bought it, and we brought it to the food court and opened it up. It's a cake. Pastel salado means salted cake in Spanish. And the top is smoked salmon, and underneath are layers of white bread, crab meat, and what, cream cheese?
Cream cheese.
Cream cheese.
But we literally did not know, are you supposed to cook it? Are you supposed to just eat it raw? So we kept asking people. We tried to communicate. We couldn't do it. So finally we just brought it to the front and dug in. And we snuck it home, and we savored it.
And this was the result of one shopping trip there where we had Iberico ham, flavored potato chips, some nice Kirkland Signature Chablis, and Iberico ham in a package.
As you can see, the research is grueling on these trips. We always stay at a hotel with the kitchen. I love to cook, so we go shopping at Costco or at a local farmer's market, and then we stay at home and make sure we know what the products are. We do not eat all of it. We donate it to the hotel when we leave, so we've made a lot of friends. We left something behind in Tokyo. They were very happy to find it for us and mail it for free because we had given them so much stuff. And now we go to Sweden. Sweden just opened recently, and we were there for the opening. This is, once again, the cart in a different language. This is at the opening. They often have unique items, and these are these gigantic plush bears. You can see they're in perspective there with how big we are versus they are. And an item we couldn't bring home, because we do travel with carry-on, a large Toblerone bar. They had carrot cake, which surprised me, in the bakery because that's pretty traditionally American. And they also had something very Swedish called princess tort, which is a wonderful rolled sponge cake with whipped cream and mandarin oranges inside that's encased in this green marzipan with a single rose on top of it, marzipan. This is, of course, this is probably about $15 or $20. It sells for a lot more everywhere else. This is better quality, a better size, and better price. We tried it at other stores. This one was the best.
Now to Taiwan. As you can see, the Taiwan warehouse that we show here is very tall indeed because, like Korea, like Japan, they're shoehorned into very small places. So they have to build up. And the top floors are parking, and there are 2 layers of shopping floor. And this, we couldn't help ourselves. We got a picture taken at the entrance of one of them. They love motorcycles in Taipei. That's how they get around. And they shop at Costco on their motorcycles. This is something called silky chicken. It's a Chinese chicken that has black skin. And it has a slightly different flavor from a Western chicken. It's very, very good. This is Susan's favorite. This is golden kimchi. A lot of kimchi that you find, if you taste it, I mean, it's very vinegary, very, very tart, and very hot. This is very mild. I think it's carrot based.
It's cabbage like regular, but it's got sesame oil and a little bit of honey and some grated ginger and grated carrots. And if there was something I did want to bring in and try to sneak past TSA, this was it. But it's this big, and it needs refrigeration, and the flight's pretty long. So instead, I found a recipe, and I can make it at home. But this is really worth going to Taiwan for.
You know, Taiwan, every warehouse has 40% is sourced by region. And so the regional sourcing of produce in Taiwan is mysterious to us.
So
we took a look at this.
I'm sorry, David doesn't know what it is anymore. I bought this. I had no idea what to do with it, so I just chopped it up and sauteed it. It's really interesting. Whitewater snowflake. I mean, where do you find a recipe for this in Epicurious? You just don't.
And of course, they love rice. You find rice throughout East Asia, but this was one of the more spectacular displays of, I think it was 12 or 15 different SKUs of.
And this is only part of the rice display. This is part of it.
And finally, okay, I know they have chocolate ice cream somewhere elsewhere in the world, but we tasted this soft serve chocolate ice cream at the food court. It was the best we have ever tasted. I have no idea why Taiwan has the best chocolate, but it does.
And our last country, this is the UK. This is a special warehouse. It's outside London in a town called Stevenage. And this is a historically protected building, actually. It was a John Lewis department store distribution center. It was taken over by Costco. It's this unique structure. Next slide. And you can see inside, in the foreground, you can see the lovely gin-filled Christmas tree ornaments, but in the back, you can see those unusual skylights. And this is also unusual because the roof inside this one is very low in the bulk of the warehouse, so they didn't have the room for the large, what's called the steel, the shelving, so that's all around the edge of the warehouse. This is really unique. And this is the food court in UK that's got the most items. The lines tend to back up a bit because they have so many items. You can see their Aberdeen Angus cottage pie, which is like a beef stew topped with mashed potatoes. Off to the right is jacket potatoes. That's their term for a baked potato. You can get this with any or all of the following toppings. This is horrifying. Baked beans, cheese, beef chili, or tuna. Imagine having all of that on top of it. They also had mango smoothies. They had gelato from Italy. Just an amazing pizza, like a lot of different stuff. It was really quite spectacular. And then finally, a 2-pack of free-range goose fat. I mean, what can you say? That's Costco. You never know what you'll find. So thanks for your attention.
Thank you so much. We're happy to answer questions and discuss anything you want.
Yes, and because the event is live streamed, you have to talk to the microphone. It's scary, but if I can do it, you can do it.
Does your membership to Costco cross country boundaries? So
Yes, it does.
That's awesome.
All you have to do is show your card wherever you go in the world, and they let you in.
And in fact, if you're still on your parents' membership, which I mean, our kids were until they had their second child, that card works overseas also.
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for sharing. This was a really great around-the-world trip. One of our favorite things to do at Costco is hunt for the 7 and the 00 sales, for those clearances. But sometimes we wonder, okay, this dip expires tomorrow. Obviously, this is why it's so cheap. But then other things, We're like, this expires in 2 years. Why is it on sale right now? Did you ever find anything, like any rhyme or reason to why those 7 and 00 sales pop up?
Yeah, so I forget right now which is which, but one of them is, indicates that it's a sale that the warehouse is sponsoring, and one is from the retailer, from the manufacturer. That's the difference. And then there are also rebates, but they're not doing that necessarily to move out product because it's going bad. I will say, in terms of good works, Costco does a lot of good works. We have a section of the book called Good Works. It's not an exhaustive description, but in the food court, the pizza is pulled from the shelf after 2 hours, frozen and donated. So you never get old pizza. Same thing with the rotisserie chicken. After 2 hours, it's not for sale. If you look at it carefully, there's a timestamp on it all around the world. And after 2 hours, they pull it and they harvest the chicken, and they use that for chicken tacos and chicken soup and chicken this and chicken that. So they're not, anything that's about to go bad, before it does, they pull it and they donate it. They're not, marking it down to get rid of it. That's just to, have a sale.
Yeah, but the other dynamic that's going on is that, the 3,800 ceiling on number of products forces them to pull stuff out if they want to add new stuff. The main reason that you see rotation in the warehouse is because they have this 3,800 ceiling. And, some buyer comes up with a great new product from a vendor, wants to put it in the warehouse, something has to come out. And so they want to, so they use that, the price, the 00 and 7s to help move stuff out so that they can put new stuff in.
Yeah, I was wondering, the hours of operation, is it remain the same throughout the globe, or is it different in each region?
I'm sorry.
How long they are open in a particular day?
It's about the same.
I think it's about the same. I think it's they always conform to local labor laws and local commercial laws, but it's generally the same. Generally opens around 9 or 10 in the morning. In England, one of the quirks is that they have to have a certain percentage of members who are actual business owners, and those business owners can come in earlier in the day. So they'll come in at 9 o'clock, and then regular members come in at 10 o'clock. It's that kind of thing around the world, but it's generally, 9 or 10 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night, and on the weekends it's shorter.
Another question I have is about the ice cream which you said in Taiwan, it tasted the best. Is it because it's organic, or is it not?
No, it just tastes great. I mean, it tastes so chocolatey, I couldn't believe it. I have no idea. It's just one of the fun things that we discovered as we were traveling.
They also had a spectacular fried chicken that David insisted on trying several times. I kept saying to him, "You've already tasted this. It still tastes good. It's not good for you." He has a heart condition. It's just like, okay, move on. He also took the research into the samples very, very seriously.
My full question, what about the return policy? I know that we have an open one here.
The return policy is global. When we were talking to Jim Sinegal, the founder of the company, who spent time with us and was very generous about information about the company, he said to us, listen, you either have a return policy or you don't. So everything can be returned. The only limitation they have, there are 2 limitations I know of. One is that they've started selling gold bars, and they do not return gold bars because the price fluctuates so wildly. They don't want to either encourage speculation or to lose money on a daily basis as people go back and forth. They don't want to be a marketplace for gold. The other thing is electronics, and that's a 90-day return policy, and that's because they got into a position where people were effectively upgrading their computers every 2 years. You get the fancy. You buy a computer, then you buy. 2 years later, you get the fanciest, newest upgrade. And they felt that was not fair to the members who were effectively paying for that. So.
But we actually heard a great story, which we did not put in the book because it might encourage bad behavior. That somebody many years ago, a warehouse manager called the home office and said, somebody wants to return a piano after 13 years. The guy hadn't learned how to play it. And the warehouse manager was calling Jim Sinegal and saying, what do I do? And Jim said, take the thing back. You either have a return policy or you don't. So they took it back. But as I said, we didn't put it in the books. We thought, that's not a great example of human behavior. We want to mention once again, we do not work for Costco. We never have worked for Costco. We simply like the company. I think we scared them a little bit because we're so, I mean, imagine having two stalkers who, basically traveled all around the world and went everywhere. We pop up everywhere like, where's Waldo? It's really frightening.
So I noticed that some things kind of like are sold under their original brand and some are Kirkland signature. So why is the delineation between those?
Kirkland Signature represents their effort to produce the national brand product at the same quality or higher, but at a lower price. So if they look at a product and think, we can do that better than XYZ brand and do it for a lower price, they'll give it a try. Sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes they've pulled items because they can't really beat the competition. But there's also another commercial reason for doing it. When they get into a business on their own, when they start making paper towels or bathroom tissue, they learn about the business. They understand the business and understand the cost structure underneath the business, so they can negotiate better with the national brands. So, for example, they'll have Scott tissue, or I forget what national brand they have alongside the Kirkland Signature, and they'll negotiate pretty tough with the national brand because they understand what the cost structure is because they make it themselves.
But a great example of a Kirkland Signature product that they discontinued is, we've never got to see it personally, was mac and cheese. Because Kraft mac and cheese is a standard that is just so high that they said, okay, we're offering nothing here. One thing that's interesting about their Kirkland Signature is that when they first did it, they had different private label items that were different brand names initially at Price Club, the predecessor to Costco. And one thing brilliant that Jim Sinegal and Jeff Brotman did, the founders of Costco, is they said, okay, if we have different brand names for each of our private label items, we'll be in the lawyer's office all day long trademarking all this stuff. Let's just get one brand name, and that's Kirkland Signature. And it was named that because the home office was originally in Kirkland, Washington. They moved to Issaquah. They left it Kirkland Signature. I once asked them, well, who designed the logo? Because I worked at Nabisco a long time ago, and I know how expensive logo design can be. And Jim said, somebody did it on a paper napkin at dinner one night. Like, okay, great. This is very Costco. The money doesn't go into fancy stuff. What they do is put money into saving money for the members. They want you to be able to know that you can trust that it's best quality at no more than 14% above cost. It's really quite stunning. They do the right thing when no one's looking. It's a great company. It's really nice.
Thank you.
Can you say more about the samples you had and the food you ate and any disasters? Or it sounds like you bought a lot of, I mean, you showed many slides where you were eating food and buying food. I'm just curious.
Well, one thing is they give liquor samples overseas. So it's 10 in the morning and you're able to try out that new gin. I mean, that's pretty spectacular. But I don't know.
The samples change all the time. If you travel, you see different samples around the country and around the world. Staying in the Midwest, you won't see different samples because it's all organized on a regional basis. But I don't know. I can't resist them. I can't resist the samples. I really can't. Today we went to the store in Brighton, and I just had like 4 or 5 different.
You had a third lunch. I'll say one thing that we have noticed in the last year is that some of the unusual things we saw overseas are starting to make their way over here now, which is really neat, and also sort of annoying because I've paid money to ship that stuff home thinking I'll never see it again. And oftentimes it's several packages of it. So for example, really interesting Asian products are coming over here now, like noodles and stuff like that, or what else? This kind of, these crackers with the meat floss. It's a yellow box, it's kind of cool. So a lot of that stuff's making its way over here now. Costco's logistics system is so brilliant. We thought of having a fake blurb on the back of our book from Napoleon saying,
saying, if I had had Costco's logistics system, I would have won the Battle of Waterloo. But we didn't do that.
No, we didn't.
But you know, one other thing on samples is that it's the business, it's the people who man the sampling carts are not Costco employees. They're employees of a separate company called Costco Demonstration Services. And that company is partly owned by Costco, and all those people, you know, do these samples every day. And in fact, during the pandemic, when sampling stopped, Costco tried to hire as many of those people as regular employees as they could, because they understood that this was a real problem.
We met somebody in Seattle who was now working in the parking lot, pushing carts, having a ball, and she had to be 65 or 70 years old. She had been a CDS employee doing sampling, and during the pandemic, she took a job with Costco, pushing carts, and then she didn't ever go back to sampling. She said, I'm having a great time. That's Costco. We should leave some time for book signing, and please buy some books.
So you said you had to leave out some stuff about logistics in the book. So what's an interesting thing that you had to leave out from the book?
On logistics?
Yeah.
I think the most interesting thing that I went into great detail in the initial draft about how trucks arrive at the warehouse, how they're clocked in, how it's all, when they have their purchase orders scanned, and all of a sudden the inventory populates, and then they unload it, and everything is they can process this stuff in an hour. They can move stuff through the system to 30 or 40 warehouses in an hour. I mean, it goes to trucks in an hour, and then it takes another hour or two to get to the warehouses. One of the things that they're careful about is that they locate their distribution centers in places where they can get to all the warehouses in a couple of hours. So the strawberry that left California on Wednesday arrives at the warehouse on Sunday. It's a very quick process and very clean. They use something called cross-docking, which is everything that's coming in comes in at one side of the warehouse. And then forklift drivers move it across the warehouse to different docks, which are dedicated to each Costco store. So a strawberry delivery gets unpacked and loaded to 30 different stores and then out. And it's a thing of beauty to watch. These people have been working there for 15 or 20 years. They know exactly what they're doing, and they usually finish their jobs around 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
The other thing to mention is that the truck drivers who work for Costco, they do a lot of it's outsourced, but the ones who actually work for Costco, if they choose to, they can stay at home every night because they're not doing overnight hauls. They're doing short hauls. I say if they choose to. They can not go home if they want. They're not required to, but
Yeah.
it's a really good quality of life.
Costco turns over its entire inventory 11 times a year. Walmart does about 9 times a year. So it gives you a measure of how efficient and how quickly Costco can work.
We should wrap it up.
Also, just last question. You just mentioned that like the 40% of the stock in each store is like localized. How are they making these decisions? Is there like one place where they decide what goes in which store, or who decides?
The home office has a group of buyers who are responsible for national and global buying. And so, for example, Procter & Gamble, is a national and global vendor, and home office has a group of people who work with Procter & Gamble to make those decisions. Then the regional offices, I think there are how many regions? I think 8. 8 regions. We're in the Midwest region right now. The headquarters are in Oak Brook, Illinois, outside of Chicago. People at Oak Brook, Illinois, source stuff that is local and regional, and they ship it to the local and regional warehouses. And sometimes there's cross-fertilization. So a buyer on the West Coast might see something that a buyer in the Midwest has taken and think, wow, Californians would really like that too, so they'll buy it for California, and that's true for the whole world.